Hello, my name is Shanahan. I'm here commentating a league match between MInionpawn and GraceG. This is for League Division E5. So, again, I always got to watch out for kingdoms with cavalry. Weird stuff can happen with cavalry, certainly. Traveling fair, goat, and cavalry comes with it horses. Thinning is a little bit challenging here. You can get goat, which thins one. You can get transmogrify. I like transmogrify here to thin coppers into stockpiles. Seems pretty nice. I would consider opening like transmogrify gear. The Margraves are going to be nice. So you want to get the Margraves. Grace opens transmogrify silver. Well, Grace opens double silver into Plaza, so looking to just get straight into the Margrave stuff. MInionpawn opens transmogrify stockpile, picks up a gear. Now with 6, is going to go double stockpile. I like another gear here. You can play with a couple of gears. You're okay if they collide. Probably on that 6, though, I would have gotten a Margrave. The attack's going to be nice. We'll see what MInionpawn does on this 6. This 6, I think, should definitely be Margrave. You'll be able to buy a stockpile on a different turn. And for Grace here, you've got good cards down there. I think you can consider definitely buying a cavalry here and be okay moving through those coppers. Probably needs to pick up a Plaza quite soon. Oh, Grace already has a Plaza. Okay, so they're both doing this stuff with stockpiles and Margraves. MInionpawn has the gears. Grace has the Plazas. I think they'll both converge on having Plazas here. I really like the T-Mog transmogrify that MInionpawn has. Turning those estates into coppers is really nice, or estates into stockpiles is really nice. Later on, you can turn, random 3 and 4 costs into cavalry to do interesting stuff at the beginning of your turn, get plus buy. Yeah, so it's important there. You can undo that. You kind of want to think about what you're going to buy before you make the decision. Plaza stockpile makes quite a bit of sense to me. Nice draw here by Grace hitting the Margrave. MInionpawn can just discard 3 coppers, looks like, and Grace can decide what to do on 10 and 3 buys. I would consider. Well, I still want a transmogrify, so something like transmogrify Margrave or transmogrify Plaza stockpile, that kind of thing. With traveling fair, you can get tons of plus buys. I do want to slowly be thinning out coppers, but this kingdom's pretty fast, and it feels bad to do that while there's still stockpiles to be had. So we'll see what MInionpawn does, and yeah, they can easily just set aside here a Plaza and a estate. And then buy stockpile Margrave or Plaza stockpile. There's a couple of different things they can do. You can also top deck villages here if need be, using the traveling fair, which is important to note tactically. If you have a Margrave coming up later in the shuffle, you can strategically top deck a Plaza to make sure that you have a village before you play the draw card. The interesting part about stockpile games is that once the stockpiles run out, you have to quickly transition to a different source of payload. So we'll see if MInionpawn does that here or waits another turn. That could mean buying golds. That could mean buying displace. Something like displace on cavalry can get you a lot of money pretty quickly. But MInionpawn's only been able to thin one copper, and Grace has thinned one estate. So it's there's still the point where it's going to be tough to draw deck without adding more draw and more villages. That was a nice strategic play there, and they were able to draw the gear and play it. And now they have the they played as a goat. Interesting. I would consider playing it and setting aside the estates so that you could transmogrify, because MInionpawn is a transmogrify down their mat. So 11 and pretty much as many buys as they need. Probably you need to get a displace here. You need to get a Plaza. You could also consider like gold displace as your 2 buys here. But I think you just want to add more action cards to the deck, and if you have too many action cards, you can always always use one as a goat to trash some actions. Grace has a similar kind of situation. And again, you see MInionpawn has set aside 2 of their stockpiles. Grace has set aside 2. So the payload in their deck, the amount of money they have, is pretty low. Grace has these 2 silvers that MInionpawn has replaced with gears. I definitely like the gears early on here better than silver because the stockpiles are so much money early on. The gears are good throughout the game. I think probably, yeah, you don't set anything aside with this gear. I'm not quite sure. Again, something like gold, Margrave could be good. They bought a couple of plazas last turn. They also have the gears. So maybe something like gold plaza. You can even top deck the plaza with traveling fair if you'd like. I don't see any reason to save the stockpiles for later on. They do give you plus buy, but you can get plus buy with Margrave. Lots of plus buy with traveling fair. Snowy Village, for some reason, you get one of those later on. Even Cavalry gives you a plus buy. So that's a pretty nice nice combination of cards you can have. But there's some logic if you're not going to spend all 9. If you're just going to buy Plaza Displaced, there's no reason to play it. So you kind of do need to think it out, which is good. We'll see what MInionpawn does here. Gets the Plaza, doesn't top deck, gets the Displace, gets an Oracle. I'm not wild about the Oracle. I liked top decking the Plaza over the Oracle, as you can see why here, where they have a bunch of actions they want to play. And they don't even have 4 money, sadly. Although they do have a transmogrify in place. They consider transmogrifying the... you can even transmogrify the cavalry into a cavalry, but probably just transmogrify the estate into a silver. And then play the 2 treasures, a Snowy Village. Okay, that's tough. I see why. Okay, so the last card of the deck was a Plaza, which explains why they didn't... if they were deck tracking well, they knew they didn't probably need to set aside. Here I think you just play the Margrave. Definitely now play the gear to set aside 2 of the treasures. And I would displace a Plaza here into a gold and then buy a Plaza to get it back. A similar kind of effect with displacing Cavalry, I guess. I kind of want to just load up on the Plazas here. And I would have played the gear there and set aside a Plaza and a displace, as that's MInionpawn's last action here. It's a sort of a minor decision, but I think it makes a big difference. The next turn is going to be a lot better with a displace and a Plaza to start it with. And this turn is going to feel like they had a good turn now, but it's going to slow down. Again, here I would displace the Plaza into something, and now you can buy another Plaza and get them both back again, which is nice. You kind of want all the Plazas in this kingdom. MInionpawn gets another displace. I think they're going to be terminal limited. They've got 3 displaces, 2 gears, and Oracle and Margrave. That's 7 terminals. They've also and they lost one of their villages last turn to the exile that. Here they should definitely pause and buy a cavalry. They did not do that. I think they can get more out of each of these turns. In a kingdom like this, and I'm tracking mostly MInionpawn's deck, and I'll look at Kimmy's now. In a kingdom like this, where you have similar decks doing similar kinds of things, they've made some different strategic decisions, but they're both going for a bunch of Plazas, Margraves, transitioning to the displaces after starting with the stockpiles. Those kind of minor decisions as to whether you play on with a cavalry or you end turn can make a big difference in the overall result of the game. So now MInionpawn is going to be able to, I think, play the gear first. I think you probably set aside a copper, or you end up discarding it here with the Plaza. But essentially, you're playing. The kind of goal of this deck is now to start doing things like displacing gold into province, displacing something else into gold to get the golds back, and repeat. I think both players have a little bit ignored traveling fair so far, so that's something to look out for. You can do more than just gain a province, gain a gold each turn. You can build quite a bit. And again, I'm playing those plazas to set aside the coppers rather than trashing them. I think you can get bigger turns out of it that way. So Grace is having a decent start to this turn with a bunch of villagers on top, building up the coffers. Was unable to find more actions. This seems like a good spot to pick up a cavalry. Again, try to continue the turn. Yeah, and unfortunately didn't get much, but was able to add a cavalry to the deck and cycle through a little bit more. And Minion Pawn playing pretty quickly, not using the plazas to discard the coppers. I'm pretty much always in these kind of situations, especially at the top of the shuffle, going to be discarding coppers. I think it's quite valuable. Here I would consider what you're doing with respect to the Margrave. They're going to gain the cavalry to try to find a village so they can play it non-terminally, which they did, which is quite nice. So again, it's a good spot where you know you've got 3 or 4 villages coming up in your deck. If you can find one with the cavalry, you can continue. You can have a really big turn here. They're going to be able to draw through most of their deck, displace a province into a gold, and get the gold off of their exile mat and do stuff like that. Actually, they've already gotten their gold off. They have other stuff in there. They've got the Transmogrify, the cavalry. Those are both cards I want off the exile mat into my deck. Especially the Transmogrifies with cavalry in play, and with all the provinces you'll have in gold. There's lots of tricks you can do with Transmogrify. And as the only player with the Transmogrify, it gives you like significant power pressure because you can Transmogrify a province into province and lower the province power by 1, and that will enable you to end the game quickly if you've got a small lead, even though your opponent might be able to do more with their deck. So I assume this will be 2 provinces and then displace this cavalry into gold to gain all the golds back, or are they just going to go... they displaced, yeah, that is the better order they did there, displaced the province into gold. And, you know, they've got a couple of province lead now. We'll see what Kimmy can do in response. Again, there doesn't seem to be quite enough draw in Kimmy, Grace's deck. I apologize for that. I was spectating a match earlier in Grace's deck, and we'll see. Yeah, again, Grace need to add quite a few more gears, and we're seeing that effect on Minion Pawn's deck. So we'll see if Minion Pawn's able to have another big turn here, displacing multiple golds into provinces, and this game could be over even as soon as this turn. We'll see if they can draw, and it looks like Grace is pretty far behind at this point. Again, I'm probably discarding these coppers here, but I think at this point of the game, it doesn't matter as much. We're fairly close here to triple provincing, and yeah, Minion Pawn can already triple province now. They can continue to play on and see if they can even get a little bit more than that. But I think triple province is a pretty safe way here, displacing 3 golds into province. There's not much way for Grace to come back there. Yeah, we'll see if Minion Pawn goes for double province and get the golds back, or just goes for the triple province line. I think with all those displaces, the triple province line is fairly safe. There's plenty of extra cards they can use to gain off the mat. Yeah, and Grace has realized this and gone ahead and resigned. Yeah, so I think I liked Minion Pawns getting the extra draw early. Grace went for the money early, so I think that ended up being a little bit of a difference in what the decks could do there. As you see from the final deck state, Minion Pawn had the 3 gears, and Grace didn't have those. But we'll see what happens in game 2.